suggesting Liverpool have rejected an almost £60 million bid for him. Lots to discuss then as we welcome in Frank LeBus with us as is, and Nader Manua. Beth Lindop joins us for our very first time on the show for our Merseyside correspondent. Beth, this has come out of nowhere, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been quite the day from a Liverpool perspective. Started off this morning with the reports about Luis Diaz. Obviously, there's been a little bit of speculation about his future for a little while, and it seems like he's perhaps not going to be offered the contract that he wants at Liverpool. He's got 2 years left on his current deal, so it'll be interesting to see how that situation develops with Bayern Munich. But obviously, yeah, the big story of the day is Alexander Isak, a player that we know that Liverpool have really admired for a while. Arne Slot is a big fan of him, but it always felt like this summer it was going to be too difficult a deal to do. Newcastle have been pretty unequivocal in the stance that they're not letting him go this summer. But then you add Hugo Ekitike into the mix and the possible deal for him going to Newcastle. He's someone that Liverpool have also been keeping tabs on. So between those two players and those two clubs, it looks like we could be in for a little bit of a saga, I think.
If you're Isak, Craig, your head's going to be turned, isn't it, by Liverpool being interested?
Absolutely, and the fact that Newcastle got into the Champions League, scraping in there, I think they might have felt that would have been enough. But if Liverpool come calling, the current English champions, the favourites for the title again this year before a ball is kicked, so his head is going to be turned, and it'll come down to money, to bids, and to how much maybe Isak's camp forces the issue. Dare I say it, that I think Liverpool would have been looking to buy a striker anyway. I mean, if they don't get Diaz, they can't afford to lose. If they don't get Alexander Isak, then they can't afford to lose Diaz to Barcelona. Bearing in mind, obviously, the tragic summer that they've had, and I hate to say this, but the passing of Diogo Jota means, and such an important player for them, means that we're already thinner in terms of their squad. And so they definitely have to get players in before they even think about letting anybody go. But if you're Alexander Isak and you're Liverpool, bearing in mind you've signed Florian Wirtz in the summer, number 10, who's going to make things happen. Bearing in mind you're super strong in the middle of the park. Bearing in mind you're super strong in the wide positions. If you could bring in one of the hottest strikers in European football, then that's another big statement on top of the ones that you've already made earlier this summer already.
Nader, Newcastle fans will be hoping, right, OK, a bid's come in, we've said no, that's the end of the story. But if you're Alexander Isak, how much part do you have to play in whether or not you stay or go this summer?
I think, as we look at it today, I don't think he really has to do much, because in reality, Liverpool, if they've been rejected this first time, there'll probably be another bid that comes in and another bid that comes in. And I think maybe when the figures start to get north of that £100 million mark, if Newcastle still say no, then maybe that's the point where Isak has to make a statement himself. But for now, it's almost like he holds the cards. He's very much wanted at Newcastle and very much wanted at Liverpool. If the two clubs can agree a fee, then great. But I think if it gets towards the end of the window and maybe Newcastle have made a really strong stance, then that's when perhaps Isak will have to speak up if this is the move that he really wants. But again, as Craig was saying, they are in the Champions League, so the move itself, perhaps it's not as obvious as, say, it could have been in years gone by. But the fact is, when the Premier League champions do come calling, they might not call again. So maybe this is the time to say, well, for me, this is the right move and this is where I want to be.
Yeah, that's it, Frank, isn't it? Both teams, of course, in the Champions League, but as a player, surely it's the ambition of going on to win it all, and Newcastle fans won't like it, but obviously you've got a lot better chance of winning it with Liverpool than you have with Newcastle. That's got to tempt the player, isn't it?
Certainly, and when you're a player, you're ambitious, you want to win a trophy, silverware, and it's obvious that you have more chances to win with Liverpool than with Newcastle. But it's a tricky situation for Isak. I mean, you will be a betrayer for the Magpies and maybe an opportunist. But that's football. I will completely understand Isak if he decides to go to Liverpool, and I will understand the fans to be so much disappointed by losing one of the best strikers in Europe playing the Champions League. So there is no comfortable situation for anybody, especially for Isak. I think, as Nader said, it's better if he doesn't say anything. He lets things go. If he has to play for Newcastle for another season, he will play in the Champions League. If he has the chance to go to Liverpool, he will enjoy it.
But it doesn't say much for... I think one of the other things is that Newcastle and Eddie Howe have to be super confident that if this does happen, the club have got the plan B in place. because they had a pretty good...
It would in theory be Etikike, yeah?
Well, it would, because Callum Wilson has left as well. So
Yeah.
the backup striker...
Shut up, Nathan.
The backup, it's not Çalhanoğlu, you're all right, you found a new one. There's no Çalhanoğlu now, so we've found a new one where he can't get his teeth in. So Wilson was backing up Alexander Isak. They've both potentially... Wilson's gone, Isak could go. If this happens, it's not a very good message from the Saudi ownership to the Newcastle fans, is it? In terms of what they're trying to build, where they're trying to go. If you're selling your best players at the height of their career to one of the big rivals in the Premier League, it's not really a great signal to your fan base, is it? Unless they bring in somebody better. It does it better.
And Ekitike is not better than Isak. Obviously, you take a look at these numbers, but you compare Bundesliga obviously to the Premier League.
I think that's the sort of juxtaposition that Newcastle, and particularly Eddie Howe's in, that you're trying to build a squad and you build a lot of it around, of course, your team work ethic, but superstars like Alexander Isak, and you sell them to one of the other teams in the top 4 or 5 that are in the Champions League. Again, sometimes it's politics and it's tough to keep people. It might be this PSR that Newcastle might be struggling to crunch the numbers, and they may have to sell them, but it isn't a great signal to your fan base.
PSR, Beth. We love that on this show, by the way. Where have Liverpool got this money from?
Yeah, well, PSR hasn't really been a concern for Liverpool for the past couple of seasons, and the reason that they've been able to spend what they've already spent this summer and why they still have some wiggle room is because they have been pretty shrewd rather in terms of the finances over the past few years. Last summer they only bought Federico Chiesa for 12 million. They didn't buy anyone in January. So while other clubs, the likes of Manchester City, Arsenal, over the past couple of seasons have spent pretty big, Liverpool have kept that spending to a minimum, and obviously they're bringing in enormous revenue. They were back in the Champions League last season, having spent a season in the Europa League. They've gone on and won the Premier League. All of the sponsorship deals and everything that comes with that, and the TV money and everything like that, it puts them in a really strong position financially. So if Liverpool aren't to sign Alexander Isak this summer, I don't think it will be because of finances. I think the money is there if Liverpool are able to get a deal over the line. Plus, when you consider, it's likely that Darwin Núñez is probably going to be heading for the exit door. We know that Saudi Arabia have been a little bit interested. Napoli, obviously the front runners at the moment to sign him, and they've got other assets likes of Harvey Elliott, who you would imagine could command somewhere around 40 million. So they do have players that they can offload, for want of a better word, to raise a little bit of extra cash. But yeah, they're PSR compliant at the moment, and that's not really a concern for them. So I think, as I say, if this Isak deal doesn't get over the line, it won't be because of a lack of funds on Liverpool's end.
You take a look at the starting 11, say that Isak does come in, Nathan, they're pretty stacked, Liverpool.
Yeah, when you were saying some of those players before, I completely forgot how good they could potentially be, given the fact that, they have that joy of winning the league last season as well, and players who are still young and trying to prove themselves as well. Like, it's always funny to remember that Isak, he's only in his mid-20s. You look at Kirkes, he's young as well, and they've got a ton of experience in there, but so much quality at the same time. So if that ends up being the starting 11 that they have, it's great, but then also, they do have some depth on the bench as well. So if you were a Liverpool fan, I think they were speaking, I think the Liverpool group were talking about, this is going to be a great summer, we're going to be bringing in players and so on and so forth. Well, they've certainly done that, and if they can bring across Isak, that is one of the biggest signs I think they've probably had in their Premier League history.
Yeah, with or without Isak, Frank, it's fair to say Liverpool are favourites to win the Premier League, to retain the title. You bring them in, bring Isak in, that takes them to another level.
Yeah, it's going to be a plus, but you already take a look on the first 11 and take a look on the bench. I mean, the depth of the bench is amazing. When you see that you have Diaz, that you have Szoboszlai, Elliott, and Bradley as well. I mean, those players have already proven that they could play in any team in the world, and they're going to be sitting on the bench for Liverpool. So Liverpool is showing to the world that they're ready to get the Champions League and, of course, again, get the Premier League.